Welcome to our webinar, Blueprint for a Self-Service Workplace on Microsoft Teams. I'm Daryl Trimble from SP Marketplace. We've been providing out-of-the-box self-service workplace solutions since 2012 on Office 365. We have over 1,500 installations around the world and have developed digital workplace best practices. Our products follow those best practices, are called SP Workplace Solutions. They're an out-of-the-box self-service workplace built on Teams, SharePoint, and leveraging the Power Platform. If you want to accelerate your move to a digital workplace, check into spmarketplace.com and take a look at SP Workplace Solutions. Now, in this webinar, we're not here to sell you SP Workplace Solutions, but to pass on knowledge that we've gained over the last 8 years in putting together a digital workplace leveraging Office 365, Teams, and SharePoint. We interact with hundreds of organizations worldwide every year to talk to them about moving to a digital workplace from the traditional server-based, email-based, and kind of department siloed-based internal business structure that many organizations have developed over the years. Their challenge is, with the cloud, how do you take advantage of the cloud to actually transform into a digital workplace that also can be a self-service workplace for your employees? And that's the goal of this webinar, is to educate you on what we've learned are the best practices for this and how you can actually build this self-service hub in Office 365 and Teams, where an employee through Teams can get to a home page which provides news, information, and the ability to get to other information such as employee directories and navigation right from Teams and from a home icon within Teams. Then, to within one click, give them access beyond just communications and information and navigation, which you can get with a communication site, to actually add in a central point or destination that employees can access documents. We'll call this DocCentral, and allow them to do very targeted searches, to browse the different functional libraries with information relating to only what they need to get at from a governance standpoint. Next, beyond documents, a lot of times organizations don't have any central way or common way to provide services. There could be multiple service desks going on. We're going to show you how you can actually create what we call a Service Central and be able to have employees come into a common place, request services from different parts of the organization in a common way, saving everybody time and money. And then finally, one of the things a lot of organizations don't think about is giving them a central destination for getting to different business processes, rather than having to go to their browser favorites or all the icons that might be on their Windows desktop. Give them a place, a destination they can get to those processes that relate to them and personalize it, and that they can actually track form submissions and other things related to business processes. And all this is really one click away, and the goal is to provide 80 to 90% of what an employee needs within 1 to 2 clicks within Teams. So let's take a look at what you will learn in this seminar. First of all, we'll all kind of agree on what is employee self-service. Everybody seems to have a different view of that. Sometimes it's only HR stuff. Sometimes it's just news and information. Sometimes it's just getting at documents. We'll actually discuss that and see what some of the best practices we've seen relate to it. Then we'll show you how to actually empower employees with the Self-Service Hub, leveraging Microsoft Teams and SharePoint and the Power Platform within Office 365. And then finally, we'll show you a live demo of what a self-service hub in Teams looks like. So grab a cup of coffee, or if it's in the evening, a glass of wine or beer, and get ready for a very enlightening webinar. So our first look at this is we all need to kind of come to an agreement about what is employee self-service? What does it entail? And when we take a look at what employees need from the organization to do their job, it's not just news, it's not just some documents and policies. There's much more to it. And it really involves several things. First of all, communications. A lot of times this is sent through email, it's lost, but that includes news, announcements, discussions, events, alerts. All of those things are part of organization communications. And a lot of those communications come from different parts of the organization, come from departments or business units or those type of things that really need to have that rolled up to the top employee hub. The second thing, of course, that employees need to get to, and this is what most people think of as employee self-service, is resources. They need to be able to get at policies, not just HR policies. There's policies in every function. There's IT security policies, there's facilities policies, there's safety policies. You need to be able to present this easily to employees so they can find and be able to reference policies. There's also forms and documents that they may need. Maybe resource documents, maybe as simple as a quick reference card or link to a video for learning how to use Planner or Excel. It might be logos, images provided by marketing, the official logo of the company, or collateral, and any other type of files. Okay, are often provided by different departments for employees. A very important part, especially if you have a lot of remote employees, is organization info and culture. So the ability for them to see a frequently asked questions, or an employee get to the employee directory very quickly, or if you have a lot of offices, an office directory, and other things such as programs and recognition. These are all important, and also discussions and those type of things. Another area is just business processes. I need to ask for time off. I need to submit an expense report. I need to go to a project, or any of those things, making it easy to find the right business process. And then finally, one thing that's overlooked a lot is what we call internal service requests. Okay, a lot of times you'll have a IT help desk out there, but every service department, IT, HR, facilities, marketing is even a service department. You provide collateral and you provide support for events and everything. A lot of organizations waste a lot of time playing email tag or phone tag with these different departments. Sometimes the requests get lost. How about one central way that employees can request services? Okay, so all of these areas are what employees really need from the organization. The reality, though, is that most of the time, the organization is not set up to support the employees. It's really set up with an internal view of departments and functions, each of them doing things their own way. And the problem is, if your employees trying to look across this and getting support, finding resources, all of that, it can look like chaos to you. And in essence, that's where a lot of employee frustration comes in. It's also where a lot of the departments have to do extra work in fielding requests from employees because they can't get it themselves in a self-service model. And without self-service, you're actually costing yourself a lot of money, both in employee productivity and overhead staff count to support employees without self-service in some of those service departments. And that's one of the key issues and a key opportunity with going to the cloud and Office 365. So then, if the solution is to, in essence, provide a self-service hub for employees to go to get what they want, how do you do that in Office 365? How do you take advantage of the powerful capabilities of the platform to deliver this to employees? Well, we'll show you how you can do that with Microsoft Teams. So our next section is really empower employees with Self-Service Hub, leveraging SharePoint and Teams. One of the challenges we hear from customers and clients all the time is, how do I actually go and put things together? Microsoft basically in Office 365 has delivered to me a bunch of tools, SharePoint, Teams, you have Office 365 groups, you have Yammer, and OneDrive. And the question is, how do you bring all these things together to deliver that self-service hub environment and solution for your organization? One of the things we've seen is as Teams has come out, many organizations are basically turning on Teams and allowing their employees to create teams for whatever without a lot of governance. And of course, behind every team is a SharePoint site, is a shared mailbox, is libraries and other things out there. And what happens eventually is, in some cases, we've seen more teams than employees out there. And what you're doing is really just transferring any chaos you had in your old model to the new model in Teams. And in fact, it's even worse because where you might have had things in a file server, now it's spread out all over the place. Okay, so this is not something that you want to do. So let's step back and actually say, what are the objectives I'm trying to get to of this digital workplace? Okay, so let's get started on the design of a self-service hub using Teams and SharePoint. First of all, for it to be adopted by your users, it needs to be intuitive. Okay, it needs to be simple. It needs to be designed from the eyes of the employee. Okay, employees come in, they don't care about which department it is, they don't care about, they just want to get to, as fast as possible, the information, communication, whatever it is, documents that they need. So it needs to be intuitive on how to do that, as few clicks as possible, and as much as possible, make it personalized. Don't show them things that's not relevant to them. A second thing is, this is really important, and this is where a lot of, again, companies don't seem to realize. Every time you get a siloed application, something outside of the Office 365 thing, you've got another user interface that they've got to deal with. So what you want to do is make the employee hub accessible, intuitive, and if they're really into MS Teams and using MS Teams, for instance, as kind of their main communication tool and everything that they have open all day, then let's make it accessible from MS Teams, something that they're used to. Make it easy to use. Again, provide 80 to 90% of what an employee needs from the organization within 1 and 2 clicks. Don't make them search around. Don't make them go down hierarchies of things. That's where it gets complex. The other thing that's going to be really important here is self-service and an intranet is all about content. And if you don't have any content, if you don't have any news, if you don't have anything in there that's interesting or of value to the employee, they're not going to use it. Now, one of the big problems is that most organizations, don't have anybody that has that responsibility. Well, one of the big things we've found in all of our experience is you want to make it so that it can be managed by the supporting departments, because most of the content, documents, information, and so on is going to come from different supporting departments, such as IT or HR or marketing or finance or safety or whatever. Make it easy for these departments to manage that content. Don't make it hard for them to add new documents or put in news items. Governance. This is the biggest challenge for many organizations. You want to build in the governance. You don't rely on complex permission structures with folders and stuff like that. Have simple governance, and you'll see in what we're doing today that there's some ways that you can actually build in governance to that's related to the structure. It's actually related to your portal structure. Then finally, consistency. This is really important. It needs to be consistent. It needs, if they're going to go visit service portal for one of the departments, whether it's IT or HR or if it's marketing. Set it up to look the same way. Deliver a consistent approach for employees to request services, to access resources, and so on in a consistent manner. Don't allow departments to go in and go, well, we want ours to look completely different, because that's going to shoot you in the foot. Okay, you need to have a consistent design across all of your digital workplace. Okay, now this may be a little complex here, what we're going to go into next. But one of the biggest things that we see with clients coming in and or companies moving to the cloud and wanting to do a digital workplace is they don't think about different levels in the organization and what tools are for what levels. Okay, for instance, if you think you're just going to use Teams and not use SharePoint or anything else in the organization, I hear that from executives all the time. Oh, we're going to use Teams for everything. You can't. You can't use Teams for everything because Teams is for teams. It's locked down to a set of people. Now, Teams can also be used for communication and everything, but when we're talking about Teams from a collaboration sense, it's limited in what it can do. So let's step back and take a look at an organization and what tools apply to what levels of the organization within Office 365. So first of all, at the employee level, employees, they come in every day. It's only the employee, signing on to their email. It's usually chat and email, chat within Teams, if for instance. They will also have their OneDrive that they can get at information. It's only them that can get at it unless they share it with somebody else. And there's probably personal workplace tools, things like To-Do, things like Calendar, those type of things, or other things they may add. Okay, but it's accessed by the employee only. A second level is almost every employee is part of a department or a team. Okay, that's just the way things are organized. They're part of IT, they're part of HR, they're part of sales, they're part of services, whatever it might be, engineering team. So this is another level of access, and it is for team collaboration, team sharing, and it's the team only. Okay, and there are things like announcements and internal meetings. There's chat going on within teams, okay, and even news within this department. The resources, there's usually a shared library within the department, but it's not shared outside with anybody else, okay? It's confidential to this department. There's probably processes, like accounting might use the accounting system, whereas other departments may not have access to that. And if there's service requests coming in from outside, it's the department that handles it, and it's not necessarily shared with other departments, and that's important. Then the last level, and there also might be, by the way, a divisional level or business unit level in here. That's another group. And then there is the organization, and that is across the whole organization, and access is all employees. And communication needs to be organization-wide here, and as well. And it's, organization events, organization announcement, organization news. Resources tend to be organization-level resources, policies, forms, as well. And there might even be some, public docs from departments that are up here, but they're available to everybody. The processes are employee-facing processes, time off, expense reporting, purchase requests, those type of things. There's service requests across the organization, and people may want to do a service request and not have to do a separate help desk for every one of the departments down here. And so the ability to have kind of a organizational service request capability. And then information and culture. This is where you're going to get into sharing, suggestions and ideas. It relates to possibly security badges. It relates to employee directory and so on here, and also collaboration. So these are the, at minimum, 3 levels. And you got to understand these levels, because the key thing here is certain products apply to certain levels. So for departments, it's Teams. It could also be SharePoint group sites, but it is a portal that is built for specifically a team, nobody else to come in. The employee A lot of times this is Outlook, this is OneDrive, and this is at the employee access level. And then finally, at the organization level, this is where you're going to have an intranet site, a home site, whatever you want to call it, an employee hub. That's almost always built in SharePoint, and it might be shared in Teams and accessible in Teams, okay, which we recommend if you're actually using Teams. So the key thing here to understand when you are talking about what you're going to do for your digital workplace is you need to understand these different levels. You need to understand what products are applied at those levels, and especially the access, because this is where your governance comes in as well. So this is a key thing. And if you're saying, oh, we're just going to use Teams for everything, if they're talking about just creating a team for everything, that's not going to work. You actually need to have organization level stuff, and you might have team accessing the SharePoint intranet site or home site, but it's built in SharePoint. And I've heard people go, oh, we're not using SharePoint, but we're going to just do everything on Teams. That's somebody that doesn't know what the heck they're talking about, because Teams is the UI for SharePoint. Everything that's in Teams here is in a background SharePoint site. Okay, so now let's talk a little bit about interactions between these levels. Now, one of the things that's important to know is a lot of things that is at the organization level is actually supported by a department or a service department, for instance. So, for instance, one of the things that you want to have happen is if there's an announcements or news or calendar events, those type of things from, let's say, HR or IT or other places, those can be promoted up to the organization level. There are things that don't apply just to their department, but the whole organization needs to know about. ERP system being down for the weekend. Everybody needs to know that. The same thing goes with maintaining some of the public documents that are resources that are in support of the organization. And it could be anything from direct deposit forms to policies and procedures, but those actually have to be, again, provided by the departments and pushed up there. And there needs to be a mechanism to do that. There also might be processes, employee-facing processes like time off or whatever, that will actually get pushed down and notifications and stuff done to the responsible functional area, and so that they can process it too. Service request, again, they can put a service request in up here that might be specifically for HR, but then HR really needs to manage that service request, track it, and communicate back and forth on it as well. You need to set up this self-service thing such that it can do these types of things. And we'll see that from Teams, we'll actually set up a channel. It's called self-service support in a team that is specifically supporting organizational content, resources, and other things. Now, just to reiterate, and I'm sorry if this is going overboard, but again, you need to understand that with Microsoft Teams, unless you make it a public site, okay, a public team, that employees outside a department team cannot access the department team or any files. Okay, it's only those in the department that are members of the teams. Okay, that's a key thing there. You're not going to go and break down this document library into different folders and give different permissions so employees can come in here. It doesn't happen. Okay, it can't happen. It's not like old SharePoint. The second is there is no supporting infrastructure for employees it cannot be in the department. It's got to be outside of the department or the team and placed in a higher level, say the intranet or self-service structure. You got to understand that. I'd say 30% of the clients we go into, they think they're going to do everything with Teams, and it just isn't. Unless they really understand what they're doing, it's going to be interesting for them. Okay, so now let's talk about the actual structure of what you're going to be designing. So the first thing that we recommend is that you want to set up your kind of intranet home, your employee self-service hub, the hub site. And what this is it's actually a SharePoint communications site that is then turned in to a home site. And once you turn it into a home site, it is available through Teams, okay, through as the home kind of app for Teams. And the way that we recommend is, again, you want to make it so one click away is 80 to 90% of what the employees need. So this communication site, or self-service hub, we call it, will have information and communications up on a home page. Don't try to do a lot more with it. Don't try to have a whole bunch of docs up there. Don't try to, do all the service request things there. Just make it information and communications. Keep it simple. And then one click away, either in your navigation or in, quick links there, you can actually create a page that is your Doc Central. This is where employees are going to go in and get to the files and documents that are made available to them by the different supporting departments, okay, with a search. The next thing, and this is one click away. One click away, if they need help, you can set up either a site with several service desk links to it, if there's different departments and different service desk links, or you could actually implement, for instance, what we have, a central service request that will then distribute it. Then finally, ProcessCentral, you'll want to set up a page for that. And this is where you will put, again, a number of icons and links, but this will be the processes, business processes. So if I need to get to a business process, I can go here and get to it. Okay, so this is basically what is set up in the communication site. And it's not just the home page. You're going to need to set up some other things here too to make it useful. Okay, now to actually support these things, you're going to have to link this, in essence, to your departments that are providing the supporting information, IT, HR, whatever it might be. Okay, and the first part of it is these are probably going to be team sites. If you're a team shop, they're going to have each their own team site, and which is, again, just available for the people in these departments. But one of the things that you can do is, number one, for information and communications, one of the things that you may already know is that you can roll up news from all over the organization. So if you put a tab in to the team here, you can actually have a news tab where they actually create news items in their department for each other or to be rolled up. Okay, and so that sets up a communication structure. But they're doing it from here, and it's pushing it up to the rolled up news up here. Okay, so that sets up, again, that communication structure. Second area is documents, probably one of the most important parts. And that's where Doc Central comes in. And with Doc Central, what you want to do is, first of all, you have to realize that in each of these teams here for the departments, and you want, by the way, you only want to set up, if you can, one team per department, and other things that are sub teams, like, in IT, they might have the networking team or the application teams. Set those up as channels. Don't make them additional teams. That's just a team's best practice out there. But each of these departments has a library. The key thing is these libraries are confidential to those teams. So don't expect that, you're going to set some permissions on this and let employees get into this. It's just not happening. So one of the things that we found that works is to set up for each of the departments a library up in the intranet that will then become the library that each department can place things it wants to make available for employees. So we call this the bucket approach. Stuff you want to share goes here. Stuff with employees, stuff you don't want to share and is confidential to your department goes here. And of course, you can then do more detailed permissions than that. But that's a very simple thing, and it gets away from this whole complex permission structure of trying to share something that is in the department site with people outside. And you can't do it anyway now with Teams. I think Microsoft probably did it that way on purpose to take away some of the complexities. So the key thing though is how do the departments actually drop things in here and maintain this? You want to make that easy. So one of the things we do, by the way, is we've put in a search web part, and this search web part is targeted only at these things. It's called targeted search, so that employees can come in and do this targeted search across all of these at once instead of having to open up every one of these. And that's a specialized web part we've got. However, you can just place these up here and have them browsable too. Now, the question is, how do these departments maintain it? How do you make it easy to do this? Well, if the department has a channel, you're going to create a self-service channel. And in that self-service channel, you're going to create a tab that points to this library. And by the way, each of these libraries should have specific permissions that says the IT group or the HR group can edit these, but everybody else is read-only. And they can do it and edit those and add things from their team. Okay, it's almost like this is virtually in their physically in their department, but it's not. It's a way for them to actually access it from their team. So that's the ProcessCentral side of it. Now let's go look at SelfService here and with service requests. Here, if you have central service request, the employee can actually go in and do a service request. You have a service catalog that says for these things, it gets routed to these departments. And so again, what we're doing here is centralizing, rolling up some of the service, the ability to get services, and having a consistent way to do services across the departments. Now again, down in the departments, again, they're on teams here, if we remember. So this actually resides up here, but down in the service channel again, each of the departments will be able to link to just their service request and track and manage their service request from the service channel. Okay, so again, now you're going to add a second tab, not just the self-service documents or resources, but now self-service service requests, and be able to assign, do all that type of stuff across these. So that's now centralizing into a SelfService type model. And again, in the teams, using channels here. The third is ProcessCentral. Now, ProcessCentral is, again, a place that a destination employees can go to execute processes, business processes, time off, whatever it might be. And again, the processes may reside here, they may reside in a third-party product, but the one thing that you want to do here, again with the departments, is be able to, if it's a time off, maybe that's HR that actually processes that, it may go through approval or whatever, but in their service channel, put on a tab for time off. And even though time off may reside up here, or it may reside in another system, you can put a link to that time off because HR is the functional department responsible for overall managing time off. Same thing might go with expenses on finance or so again, ProcessCentral, having it be up here, but and having employees be able to access it here, but be able to have the responsible functional department for processing the business process be able to access it from their team. Okay, and by the way, you can have the approvals done up here and then distribute the functioning process for it. Okay, so hopefully you can see kind of a consistent theme here of you've got your SharePoint communication site with self-service capabilities here, and you've got your departments in teams accessing what they need to access from the team, even though it does not reside in the SharePoint site that is in here. So in essence, now what you've done is you have achieved the empowering employees for communications, for resources, for organization info and culture, and keeping that up to date, for business processes, and also for external service requests. Okay, and by setting up this structure. Now, there's more detailed videos on products we have, and by the way, our products support an out-of-the-box with this already without building it, but you can also build, try building this yourself. Now, let's see a self-service hub for teams in action. Okay, so let me give you kind of a scenario here. I am actually David Demo, who is a solar engineer for Radiant Solar. Radiant Solar is a commercial solar company located in Southern California and serves Arizona and Nevada as well. They do commercial solar. And David's actually working on a project here in Teams. It's a solar installation project. He's just updating some documents. Um, However, David also remembered that he's got to, they just had a baby not long ago, and he has to get some information about what changes for benefits he needs to make and so on. So he can go right from Teams to the Radiant Solar home. And this takes him to the Self-Service Hub uh, for Radiant Solar, right from Teams here. So now from here, he can go in and, by the way, see announcements. He can see and link to different things like the employee directory and other things. This is actually our out-of-the-box product, but also this could just be a communication site too. We've got company news and company events that he sees here and department news, all from within Teams. Now, the first thing that he's going to need to do is he wants to go in and find to see if there's a form for changing any benefits or that type of thing too, as well. So he can click on from the home page to Doc Central and be able to go in and either browse the HR library. He could also look for any policies relating to family or that type of thing. So he could browse the policies library here, or he could go in and say, I need to find anything related to family benefits or that type of thing in policies. He can do the search, and in fact, he can right here. It's part of the California Employee Handbook. He can open that up and look and see what policies there are related to family benefits too. If there's a form that he needs to do, let's say that they also moved into a new house because their family's growing, they switched banks, and he needs to find the latest direct deposit form. He can go here and look for that and look up direct deposits and download that as well. All from Teams, and it's the self-service component of the Radiant homepage as well. He could also go in and search across all resources. Let's say that he's putting together a proposal related to another install and he needs to get the latest logo for Radiant. He can go in and search, and the logo, by the way, is in the marketing library, and search all logos, and here is the logo that he's looking for too. So you can see that we've made it very easy for David to go in and get the things that he needs. And then if he just needs to go back to Radiant Home, which, by the way, he can find out more about just by clicking there, he can also go in and click on this and see different departments and those type of things from the navigation. So what we've done here is actually created a way that David can go in and get the latest information. He can talk with people. He can say the latest tweets. He can even, for company events, click on here and have the leadership lunch he wants to attend available to his Outlook and have it added to his Outlook and so on. So again, what we're doing is bringing in all the communications and different things that David needs. He also has his links in here, and he could actually go in here and just click and get the latest daily Dilbert, or go to his planner or anything like that as well too, all from Teams. The next thing he needs to do is he wants to actually interact with HR. He's got a question, and so he could go to Service Central here and be able to, if there was a knowledge base article, see what if there is anything in there, or if there's any forms he needs to fill out. But the key thing is he's just going to go in here and do a service request to HR and say, just had a baby. What forms do I need to fill out? And if he had the forms, he could attach them right here and send it in. This is specifically for HR, so he likes it because he doesn't have to go in and call around to people and stuff like that. He's out in the field. He doesn't have time to do this. And the subcategory for HR in this case is benefits, and he goes in and hits save. Okay, and it takes him back to Service Central. At any time, he could actually because it's set up for live contacts. He could have actually texted Brandon through Teams chat here as well. He can see some announcements here, and he can see the status of his service request. It really hasn't been addressed by HR yet. Okay. The other thing that he wants to do is ask for some time off. So he goes right over to ProcessCentral. He finds the time off request application here, and these are all applications that he can access and has um, uh, through audiences shows up for him, and so he can go in and request time off right from here. You can also see the status of any other form submissions he's had if it's the internal business forms processing as well. So it's very easy for David from the field and from right within Teams to get the things that he needs. And so that's a little bit about how you can use Teams to do employee self-service. Okay, now we're going to switch roles here. And I'm actually signed in, and I'm part of the HR staff. So we're going to see how the HR staff actually interacts with, for instance, the service request, or manages docs in Doc Central as well. So when I log into Teams, it actually brings me to the home page here. And if I go to Teams and enter the HR team here, and this is where we do a lot of our work. There's a HR portal here that we do things in and posts and so on. But one of the things, I just got an email telling me that there was a new service request that came in. So I'm going to go over to the HR self-service management channel. And here we go. Here is one of them that actually came in as well. And it actually comes in for this channel into the conversations, just to let you know from the perspective of notification. But if I go in here, we'll see that there's two things here. There's a service desk tab, and I go in here, and I see just had a baby, what do I do now? So this comes in as a Microsoft list, and I'm seeing this is where all the HR requests come in. It filters down to the HR. And I could come in here, edit this, and I'm going to actually assign this out. So here's David Demo asking this, and we had heard he had a little boy. That was great. In fact, we probably want to create a news item announcing that to the company and congratulating David and his family. But for the request here, I'm going to go ahead and assign this. This is the central service request, and this is really just a question, and I'm going to assign this to Jim Russo here in our HR team, and we could even put a KB article, if there is one, in here for what you do when you have a new family member as well. But I'm going to go ahead and assign this to Jim. In the work log, I'm going to go ahead and say direct him to fill out the family registration form for Blue Cross, which is what he has. And this will go to Jim once I hit save. And then Jim will get an email, and he can come in here into the self-service management, open this up, and get whatever he needs for David too. And in fact, one of the things that it reminds us of is that we may want to update the knowledge base that is out there in the self-service area as well. So here is that. And again, David will be, once it's completed here and Jim responds, David will get a completed email, and in the self-service area, David will also be able to look at the status of his request and that it has been completed as well. Now, the other thing Jim can do is he can say, gee, you know, we really should have had out in the self-service documents for benefits, we must not have that form. And so here, we could go in and Jim could upload the specific form that might be out there, employee information form, and go ahead and upload that. And that is out there. I could have also dragged it over here too. And that will now appear in the documents that are available in ProcessCentral for that. I could also put it into the forms library up at the top there too as well. Either way. But now that is added to the documents out there. And now David, I can just text David that go into ProcessCentral, search for employee information form, and he'll be able to fill out what he needs. So you can see here that, you know, I was able to, from HR, process the central service request, and from the HR team also manage the documents that are out in ProcessCentral as well too. Now, one other thing I think I'm going to do too is over in HR, we happen to have the SP Marketplace HR application, which allows us to, you know, it's a full HRMS. But what I'm going to do is look up David Demo's employee record and make a note in that he had a new baby and so on there. So I can go in, I can open up his record and do that right from Teams as well. So what we've seen is how you can take and design a self-service hub in Office 365 and have it accessible through Teams for your employees. And you can build this yourself. You would have to probably add some web parts and other things to do this, but you could do a simpler version of what you saw. Or if you're interested, you can actually get a full self-service hub out of the box workplace, ready to go, ready for your customization to fit to your organization from SP Marketplace. It's part of our SP Workplace Solutions products, all built natively on the Microsoft Power Platform, SharePoint, and Teams. We hope this has been helpful for you. Please do contact us with questions or information you may need or other demos you could see of other of our products.